The stage is set. The camera zooms in on the hushed room, its walls lined with eager journalists, each waiting for the confrontation to begin. A sense of tension pulses in the air, barely contained. The debate between Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Texas, and Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, is about to unfold. No time for pleasantries, no idle introductions. The moment is here and the words are sharp. Freedom of speech is our bedrock, Karoline Leavitt begins, her voice clear and measured. Her eyes scan the room, confident, unfazed. Every American has the right to speak their mind, to share their views, no matter how uncomfortable those views may be. That is the essence of democracy. Jasmine Crockett's fingers tap the podium. She waits for a moment, the silence hanging like a loaded gun before she responds. So, you're telling me we should just let lies spread unchecked? That we should allow misinformation to tear us apart because, hey, it's a right? Her words come fast, sharp, like daggers thrown with precision. The room shifts, as if the air has been sucked out, leaving only the crackle of raw tension. Caroline's eyes narrow slightly, but her smile never falters. It's not about letting lies spread, Congresswoman. It's about ensuring that we don't give the government the power to decide what speech is acceptable and what isn't. Censorship is not the answer. Jasmine leans forward, her gaze unyielding. You're not listening, Karoline. We're talking about people getting hurt. People dying because of false information. You can't hide behind freedom of speech when lives are at risk. Her voice rises with urgency, every word heavy with emotion. The crowd stirs, whispers moving like wildfire. Karoline shifts, her posture stiffening. Are you suggesting the government should decide what is truth? Are you advocating for the silencing of dissent? Jasmine takes a breath, then, if that dissent is killing people, yes, Karoline. Yes, I am. The words hang in the air, final, unrelenting. She's not just fighting for a policy now. She's fighting for something bigger, the safety of a nation unraveling under the weight of unchecked lies. A reporter stands, holding a microphone. Congresswoman Crockett, do you believe the government should be more involved in regulating online content? She asks, her voice tinged with the weight of the question. Jasmine's response is immediate, filled with a raw honesty that cracks through the polished exterior she usually wears. Absolutely. If we don't step in, we're letting chaos win. We can't stand by and watch our society tear itself apart because we're too afraid of what's next. Her tone is fierce, almost pleading now. Karoline, visibly taken aback, adjusts her stance. What you're asking for, Jasmine, is a dangerous precedent. You want to give the government power to decide what's true and what's false? That opens the door to authoritarianism. That's not the America we want. Her words hit with the force of a slap, her voice biting, her anger palpable. The two lock eyes, the room growing quieter, the stakes climbing higher with every passing second. And what do you call allowing lies to run rampant across the country? Jasmine shoots back. Isn't that a kind of dictatorship too? When the truth becomes malleable, when people are dying because they believe the lies they see online, aren't we already living in a world where facts no longer matter? Karoline's jaw clenches, her eyes narrowing with a flicker of something deeper, perhaps doubt, perhaps fear. But she doesn't back down. The moment we start letting the government decide what speech is acceptable, we lose our freedom. We lose everything that makes this country great. Jasmine's hand slams against the podium, the force of the movement drawing every eye in the room. Freedom isn't about letting people kill each other with their words, Karoline. Freedom is about protecting those who don't have a voice, who are crushed under the weight of lies. You don't get to play the victim here. People are dying because of the very things you're defending. The crowd is hushed, every eye fixed on the two women, the world watching. Karoline opens her mouth, but no words come out. She hesitates, her eyes flicking to the audience before locking back onto Jasmine. And what about the people who disagree with you? What happens when their voice is silenced? Jasmine doesn't miss a beat. Their voice isn't silenced, it's protected. What I'm talking about isn't silencing anyone. It's stopping the spread of poison, lies that destroy families, communities, and lives. Her voice cracks, a rare moment of vulnerability breaking through the cold, composed politician. I'm talking about saving this country before it's too late. Karoline steps back, her expression hardening, but her voice trembles slightly. You're asking for control. That's not what America is about. The words are defensive, But there's an undercurrent of something else, an uncertainty, a flicker of doubt she's struggling to suppress. Jasmine stares at her, the weight of her words hanging between them. What's worse, Karoline? Losing our democracy to lies? Or having the courage to protect it? She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she turns to the room, her voice a raw mixture of conviction and anger. We can't keep pretending that this is just about free speech. This is about protecting the truth. This is about protecting the people we swore to serve. For a moment, there's a long, breathless silence. The air is thick with the weight of what's been said. Karoline looks at her, eyes narrowing, but there's something different in her gaze now. Something almost respectful? Or is it fear? Let me be clear, Karoline finally says, her voice steady but with a biting edge. I will not back down from protecting the very freedoms that make this country what it is, and I'll fight anyone who tries to take that away. Jasmine stands tall, her voice cutting through the tension. Then we'll see who really fights for freedom. The debate is far from over. The room erupts into murmurs, the journalists quickly pulling out their phones, eager to tweet every word, every glance, every shift in the room. Outside, the world is already spinning with reactions. The lines have been drawn. The battle between freedom and responsibility has only just begun. But the biggest twist of all? Neither of them is fully prepared for the consequences of their actions. Neither of them knows what's coming next. They've just ignited a firestorm, and it's not one either of them can control. The public will decide who's right, and the outcome isn't as clear-cut as they think. As the moderator calls for a break, both women stand there, staring at each other across the room, a mix of defiance and doubt in their eyes. What happens next? No one knows. Not yet. And as the camera fades to black, the world holds its breath. You say you want to protect people from misinformation, but who decides what is true? Karoline's voice cuts through the thick silence, sharper than before. She's leaning forward now, almost predatory. What happens when the government gets to pick and choose what's acceptable? What happens when they start controlling not just lies but dissent? You're asking for something dangerous, Congresswoman. Jasmine doesn't flinch. She leans into her response, her tone unwavering, firm. I'm asking for accountability, for responsibility. You can't sit back and let falsehoods wreck our society, and then claim that your freedom of speech matters more than the lives lost because of those lies. Is that the kind of democracy you want? One where people are led to slaughter because of a conspiracy theory? Karoline's eyes narrow, her jaw tightening. And I'm asking you, Jasmine, where does it end? Today you want to silence the lies. Tomorrow it's anyone who challenges your narrative. Who decides, Congresswoman, you, me, the government? Her words drip with venom now. That's the real question. The room seems to constrict with every passing second. The stakes are high, and the line between freedom and control has never seemed more blurred. Karoline's words land with the weight of authority. The underlying message is clear. Freedom must never be compromised, no matter the cost. But Jasmine's resolve remains unbroken. You're framing this as a battle of ideals, Jasmine responds, her voice growing louder. But this isn't about ideals. This is about people, real people. You talk about freedom of speech, but we've seen the damage, Karoline. We've seen what happens when misinformation goes unchecked. You know, the violence, the chaos. It doesn't stay online. It spills into the streets. It tears families apart. Do you want to live in a world where that's the price of freedom? Her words linger, suspended in the air, as if challenging the very foundation of what Karoline stands for. For a brief moment, Karoline's steely exterior wavers. Her lips curl, but there's no real smile this time. Only a flash of something darker. Your protection is just another form of control, Karoline spits back, the contempt evident in every word. Don't you see? If you start down this road, there's no going back. What you call protecting people is really just robbing them of their right to think for themselves, to disagree, to fight for what they believe is true. Jasmine's eyes flicker, her fingers gripping the edges of the podium. It's not about telling people what to think, Karoline. It's about stopping the madness before it becomes too late. You want to talk about freedom, but freedom isn't about having the right to harm others. You can't claim to defend people's rights while letting their lives be destroyed by falsehoods. The words hang there for a moment, the room silent. For just a second, both women stand at the precipice of something irreversible. Each is resolute in their stance, but the truth is, neither truly knows what will happen next. The world they're fighting for is one of extremes. Freedom or control, truth or lies. I think you're missing the point entirely, Karoline finally says, her voice colder now, sharper. What you're proposing, Jasmine, isn't protecting people. It's silencing them. And that's where you've lost me. Jasmine doesn't back down. Then you're not listening, Karoline, and that's exactly why we're here. The exchange leaves the crackling energy in the air, as if the room itself is waiting for the next blow to land. The next question hits the air like a bomb. But what about the role of tech companies, the platforms that spread this information? Should they be held accountable as well? The journalist's voice trembles slightly, as if even asking the question feels dangerous. Jasmine leans in, her voice unwavering. Absolutely. You can't expect social media companies to sit back and let disinformation run rampant without consequences. These platforms have the power to influence millions, and they've done nothing to stop it. It's not just about regulating speech. It's about making sure the people who control the flow of information are held accountable for what they let through. Karoline's eyes flash with frustration. So now we're blaming the platforms? She says, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. What's next, banning every platform that doesn't agree with your narrative? That's the slippery slope you're asking for. You can't just pass the blame onto tech companies, Jasmine. You want the government to come in and regulate every tweet, every post, every comment? I'm not asking for censorship, Jasmine shoots back, her voice gaining strength. I'm asking for regulation. The truth matters. And right now, these platforms are spreading lies with no accountability. You don't get to hide behind free speech when you're inciting violence or hatred. You can't claim freedom and let people die because of it. Karoline stands up straighter, her face hardening. You can't regulate the truth, Jasmine. The truth is subjective. You think the government can just decide what's true? No one has that right. The room feels smaller now, tighter, as though everyone is holding their breath. The two women are practically standing toe to toe, their words clashing like thunder. No one's asking for the government to decide what's true, Jasmine argues, her voice low, but the conviction still there. But someone needs to take responsibility for the damage that's being done. No one's doing that. The government has a responsibility to act when people's lives are on the line. The crowd stirs, whispers rippling through the journalists as if they can feel the shift in the air. Karoline paces for a moment, and then, in a move no one sees coming, she stops. Her next words are almost a whisper, but they carry the weight of something much larger. So what do you propose, Jasmine? You want to take away people's right to free speech? Their ability to voice opinions that might not fit your narrative? Where does it stop? Jasmine stares at her, unflinching. It stops when it stops hurting people, Karoline. Her words land like a bombshell in the quiet room. A beat of silence follows. No one moves. No one speaks. The entire room is suspended in that one moment, as the implications of Jasmine's statement settle over everyone. And then, in a moment that shakes the very foundations of their debate, the lights flicker. A strange, unsettling glitch. For a brief second, everything goes dark. The tension in the room shifts from words to action. The audience murmurs, confused, unsettled. But when the lights flicker back on, both Karoline and Jasmine are already steeling themselves for the next round, both knowing that the battle is far from over. This isn't just a debate. It's the beginning of a war. A war over the future of truth, freedom, and the power to shape reality itself. The room feels like it's about to explode. The flickering lights are gone, but the tension remains, thicker than before. Both women stand at the front of the stage, breathing heavily, their eyes locked. Every word, every glance now carries more weight than before. The audience is on edge, waiting for the next strike, the next revelation. The energy is palpable. No one knows how this will end, but it's clear that something significant is unfolding. Karoline steps forward, her heels clicking against the floor like a countdown. I don't think you understand what you're asking for, Jasmine, she says, her voice steady but laced with venom. You want the government to step in and regulate speech. That is the beginning of the end. The moment you give the government the power to decide what's safe to say, you've crossed a line. That's not just about misinformation. That's about controlling what people can think, can say. That's authoritarianism. Jasmine's jaw tightens, her eyes burning with intensity. And what do you call it when people are dying because of lies, Karoline? What do you call it when children are shot in schools because of the hate they read online? You're so hell-bent on preserving free speech, but at what cost? Are we supposed to let this country burn while we debate whether or not the government should step in? The government has a responsibility to protect its citizens, not let them be slaughtered because of lies. The room is frozen. The journalists, the crowd, they can feel the raw emotion in Jasmine's voice, the desperation. She's not just defending a policy anymore. She's pleading. But Karoline won't back down. Her pride, her conviction, runs deep. No one is saying that misinformation is okay, Karoline snaps, her tone biting. But you cannot give the government the authority to silence people, to decide what's true. That's not freedom. That's a dictatorship in the making. And that's what you're pushing for, Jasmine. Jasmine steps closer, her voice lowering but growing even more intense. No, Karoline. What you're pushing for is the slow death of this country. You can't defend freedom while letting hate spread unchecked. We've seen it. We've seen what happens when people are left to believe whatever they want. It doesn't stay online. It destroys families. It destroys communities. It destroys our country. For a moment, Karoline falters, her eyes narrowing as if she's calculating her next move. The two are standing so close now, their breath mingling, the weight of their words filling the space between them. It feels like the world outside the room has stopped. No one can look away. You think you're the hero here? Karoline sneers, her voice lowering dangerously. You're just as dangerous as the people you're trying to stop. You think you can decide what people can say? What they can think? Who gives you that power? Jasmine meets her gaze without flinching. I'm not asking for power, Karoline. I'm asking for action. You want to stand up here and talk about freedom? Fine. But I'm asking, what is freedom worth when it's being used to destroy everything we stand for? I'm asking you, where do we draw the line? The room is eerily silent. The question hangs in the air like a challenge, a gauntlet thrown at Karoline's feet. There's no answer. No easy answer. Then, before Karoline can respond, another voice cuts through the tension. A reporter stands, asking, So, Congresswoman, are you suggesting that the government should have the power to decide what content can be shared on social media? Jasmine turns, not missing a beat. Yes, I am. We're talking about protecting our democracy, not from people who want to speak their mind, but from those who want to tear it apart. The truth matters. The lies don't. The room stirs again, some agreeing, some questioning. But the air is thick with the weight of what's been said. It's clear now. There is no middle ground. This is a battle for the future of the country. Karoline stands frozen, her lips pressed into a thin line, her mind racing. There's a crack in her armor now. She knows Jasmine's right in some ways, but she can't let that truth break her down. Not now. I will not back down from defending our freedoms, Karoline says, her voice regaining its usual coldness. And you can call it what you want, but I will fight for America's right to free speech, no matter the cost. Jasmine's eyes flash with a mix of frustration and resolve. Then you're fighting for the wrong side, Karoline. You're fighting for the right to destroy everything we've built. The lights in the room dim briefly again, and there's a palpable shift in the air. As the tension between the two women escalates, something unexpected happens. An ally of Jasmine's, a well-known tech expert who had previously stayed out of the spotlight, stands up in the back of the room. Everyone goes quiet, the murmur of voices dying down. The expert steps forward, the eyes of the room now shifting towards him. I've been watching this debate from the sidelines, he begins, his voice calm but firm. And I have to say, Congresswoman Crockett is right. The platforms we use, the social media giants, have a responsibility to protect people from harm. They've let misinformation spread unchecked, and that's a failure. Not just of the platforms, but of our government for not holding them accountable. It's not about silencing people. It's about ensuring that the truth is protected. Karoline's eyes flash with anger as she turns to the expert. So you're on her side now? She sneers, her voice tinged with disbelief. You think the government should step in and control the flow of information? What happened to your principles? The tech expert, unfazed, meets her gaze. What happened to protecting the public, Karoline? You're defending a system that allows lies to thrive because it's convenient, because it benefits certain interests. That's not freedom. That's exploitation. The room is stunned into silence. Karoline's face hardens, her lips curling into a tight, thin smile. So now everyone's turning on me, she says, almost to herself. Her voice has dropped, filled with bitterness. I stand here defending freedom, and now people are questioning that? Am I the only one who sees what's happening here? Jasmine doesn't let the silence stretch. I'm not questioning your loyalty, Karoline. I'm questioning your priorities. You say you're defending freedom, but at what cost? You're letting misinformation destroy everything this country stands for. Karoline glares at Jasmine. But it's different now. The words don't come as quickly. The weight of what's been said lingers in the air, the cracks starting to show. There's a moment of realization, a shift. Karoline can feel it, and for the first time in this debate, she's not sure if she's standing on the side of the truth. Not anymore. Jasmine doesn't take her eyes off Karoline, sensing the hesitation. It's not too late to do the right thing. You know it too. The crowd holds its collective breath, the silence thick with possibility. The debate has reached its boiling point, but the question remains, who will truly be left standing when the dust settles? The moderator, sensing the change in the atmosphere, steps in. Thank you, ladies, for such an intense and thought-provoking discussion, they say. But there's no escaping the fact that the battle is far from over. The implications of this conversation will reverberate long after the cameras stop rolling. As Karoline and Jasmine exchange one last look, there's no resolution. Only the echo of their words, the uncertain road ahead, and the sense that something much bigger than a political debate is at stake. As the audience begins to file out, the feeling in the air is unmistakable. This is far from the end. It's just the beginning. The debate room, still heavy with tension, feels suffocating now. The flicker of cameras and the buzz of whispered conversations are barely audible beneath the sharp silence that hangs in the air. Both women stand tall, poised for their final statements. There's a palpable electricity as the crowd waits, each person on edge. The moderator, sensing the weight of the moment, finally speaks. Ladies, we're nearing the end of this debate. I ask you one final question. What do you want the American people to take away from this conversation? How should we move forward? Jasmine doesn't hesitate. She leans forward, her eyes blazing with intensity. I want people to understand that this isn't about politics. It's not about left versus right. It's about what kind of country we want to be. Do we want to be a country where freedom means the right to destroy others with lies? Or do we want a country that protects its people from the dangers of unchecked information? A country where truth still matters, where accountability is not just an ideal, but a responsibility. Her words hang in the air, potent, undeniable. The audience shifts, unsure of how to respond, but there's no denying the weight of her conviction. This is more than a debate. It's a call to action. Karoline stands, her back straight, her eyes scanning the crowd. Her words come out slow, deliberate, as if each one is carefully chosen, yet tinged with defiance. I want people to know that freedom is not something that can be taken for granted. It's a delicate balance. Yes, misinformation is harmful, but the answer is not in giving the government power to dictate what we can and can't say. The answer is in empowering individuals to think for themselves, to hold platforms accountable, and to have the courage to stand for their beliefs, no matter how uncomfortable that may be. Her voice rises with every word, and there's a fire in her eyes that could melt steel. But as she speaks, the undercurrent of doubt that had crept in earlier returns. Her words no longer ring with the same certainty they once did. The world is watching, but inside, she's fighting something deeper. A battle with herself. Jasmine isn't done. Empowering people to think for themselves? When they're being fed lies from every corner of the internet? What kind of empowerment is that, Karoline? The truth is being drowned out by noise, and you're standing here defending it. Your freedom is just an excuse to let people destroy each other with their words. The room is silent. The air is thick, charged. The world outside these walls may be watching, but right now, inside, these two women are the only thing that matters. And as their words spiral into the final moments of the debate, the truth is undeniable. This battle is about more than freedom of speech. It's about power, about control, about who gets to decide the narrative of this nation. Backstage, the aftermath of the debate begins to unfold. Both women, though still standing firm in their beliefs, can't shake the strange undercurrent of uncertainty that's taken hold. Their teams surround them, each advisor pulling them aside to strategize, to reinforce the message they've just delivered. But despite the noise and the plans being laid out, both Jasmine and Karoline are caught in something deeper than politics, something personal. Jasmine's team pushes her to stay strong, to double down on her message. You've done it, Congresswoman. The American people are behind you. They want accountability. They want change, one advisor insists, gripping her arm. Don't let up now. The world is listening. But Jasmine's gaze drifts to the side, her thoughts racing. The words she spoke earlier had been raw, real. But now, in the aftermath, a doubt flickers in her mind. Was she pushing too far? Was the line she drew too extreme? The question lingers, unspoken but heavy in her chest. Meanwhile, Karoline's team is all business. You stood your ground. You defended the freedoms we all hold dear. Don't let them twist your words. The American people need to hear that message loud and clear, her chief strategist says, pressing a hand on her shoulder. But Karoline, for the first time, hesitates. The criticisms of the tech companies, the unchecked power of social media. She had always dismissed those arguments as radical. Yet something about Jasmine's passion, her unwavering commitment, has struck a chord. She watches her reflection in the backstage mirror, the weight of the debate, the weight of the entire country's future bearing down on her. Was she truly defending freedom? Or was she simply defending the status quo? As the cameras flash outside, both women face the realization that their words tonight may have consequences far beyond this stage. The media will spin their statements, the public will choose sides, but the truth is, neither of them fully knows what's coming next. They've both triggered something bigger than a political debate, and neither of them is prepared for what's to come. The morning after the debate, the world is a swirl of headlines, social media posts, and heated arguments. The fallout is swift, powerful, and divisive. News outlets declare that Jasmine Crockett's words have ignited a call for action. She has become the champion of truth in a world drowning in lies. Others call her a threat to freedom, a harbinger of government control. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt is hailed as the defender of free speech, the only one standing between the American people and government overreach. Yet, there's something about her defense that feels less confident now. Her words, once so firm, now echo with a haunting uncertainty. On social media, the responses are split. Some support Jasmine, saying that finally, someone is speaking out against the chaos and destruction caused by misinformation. Others align with Karoline, convinced that the battle for free speech is the one that truly matters. Both sides claim victory in their own way. The noise is deafening, but the reality is this. The debate has only just begun. Behind closed doors, Jasmine's allies are pushing her to capitalize on the moment. This is your chance to push your agenda. You've got the momentum. You've got the country's attention, one of her closest advisors says, practically begging her to take action. But Jasmine is silent, torn. She feels the weight of what's been unleashed. It's not just about pushing a policy anymore. It's about whether the country is ready for the kind of change she's advocating. Is the government ready to take on big tech? Is the public willing to accept the necessary sacrifices? For Karoline, the stakes are even higher. The White House is pressuring her to maintain her stance, to rally the base and keep the narrative focused on defending freedom. But internally, Karoline is struggling. Her principles have been challenged in a way she never expected. She's not sure she can continue down this path. The line between defending freedom and enabling harm has never been more blurred, and she's not sure where she stands anymore. Then, in a surprising twist, a new voice enters the fray. A third-party politician, someone with a history of advocating for balance, steps forward with a proposal that could potentially solve the dilemma. The new proposal aims to regulate misinformation without infringing on free speech, a middle ground neither Jasmine nor Karoline had considered. The proposal throws everything into question, leaving both women scrambling to reassess their positions. Jasmine's team is divided. This is our chance to make real change, some say. This proposal will give us a platform to build from. Others warn that it could dilute their message, watering down the very principles they've been fighting for. Karoline, on the other hand, can't help but feel a sense of betrayal. This middle ground seems to undermine everything she's worked for. Her base won't understand, won't accept it. And yet, there's something appealing about the possibility of avoiding the extremes. As the public reacts to the proposal, Jasmine and Karoline are invited to a special summit to discuss the future of free speech in the digital age. The invitation is a shock to both women, as neither expected to be in the same room again, let alone working together. But this summit, this meeting of minds, may hold the key to the future. Will they find common ground, or will the divide between them become irreparable? As both women prepare for the summit, they are each confronted with the reality of what's at stake. The battle is far from over. In fact, it's only just begun. And as the world watches, the question remains: who will truly lead the charge for the future of free speech, and at what cost?